Hello, welcome to the last official instructional video that's going to be posted on the detailed weekly schedule with assignments. I'm not saying there's not another video, there probably will be, but those will be sent directly to your email. Make sure you are checking your email regularly because important messages will be coming. The very first criteria or instruction I gave in print way back is to check your campus email at least daily so that you can stay up to date. This video, I would like to explain to you what needs to happen and resources available to you so that you can turn in the kind of final paper that will be a pleasure for me to read, at least relatively speaking, and a pleasure for you to have graded. I want to point out there are documents on D2L, and in learning materials, it seems a little odd because it's the end of the semester, but everything you're going to need for the end is posted. The second item, really, research report criteria and samples. It's in this folder here. It looks like that. And I want to draw your attention to several documents that I think will help you. The first one I want to show you is the research report final draft checklist. I just want to walk you through this. If you go through and check these off, you will be doing what you need to do. The first thing that you should do is check the criteria sheet posted in learning materials, and that's the same folder. This particular sheet gives you all kinds of guidelines that will make your life better, I think. Let me move all this up, excuse me. There we go. It explains to you what you should have. There's some minor changes if you wish. For example, it needs to be APA format. I prefer down here times 12 point times New Roman. You can use 10. You can use 11 point. I think it's Calibri, which is the default. APA's opened it up some, but you can go ahead and do that. Also, use Word default margins, or the APA specifies 1 inch all around. What I don't want you to give me is a 12-page paper that looks like it's been shot through a keyhole and is very narrow. But goes through here and explains what you need to have. And I can see I need to update this. I'm sorry, it's spring 2020, and you're not going to send me printed sources of your copies of your source materials. I'll change that. The rest of it all stands with the criteria. Please follow it. Again, I'm going to make me a note. Excuse me. Change criteria. I want to do that before this is posted. I'm not going to start over. It's a hassle starting everything over. But the document will look the same except for that. I tell you, this distance learning is like getting a curveball a minute. Oh, well, we didn't choose this, but I bet you we're going to get through this and it's going to be okay. So you just hang in there. This explains the criteria quite well. And I want to draw your attention. There is definitely a good sample in the sample that has been revised for Smart Growth. That paper with the front matter and the main part with the reference list is a good model for you, so check that out. And that's it right there. That's the body of it anyhow. So you have resources for you. Going further down the checklist, and literally I'd bump these off, you want to, when you think your paper is finished, go through and check each citation. Those little parenthesis doohickeys, these numbers, you make sure that they are correct. Okay? Each time you have one of those, follow this procedure to make us both happy. Make sure the citation's complete, includes a page number that corresponds to the page of the printed source. You're not going to be sending printed sources to me, but you can still use those same page numbers. If being I'm not getting anything in print, now remember it goes without saying, you use the page number if you have a PDF of an actual journal or magazine. It might say 435, whatever it is. You want to make sure that it is actually in a printed source page. Go to that and make sure it matches a reference. Now, you will not be sending me your highlighted, underlined electronic sources, okay? You want to read aloud and edit for errors. You want to make sure that the information is not plagiarized. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I hate doing it this way, and it's a pain. You are not going to be sending me in any form your sources, the printed sources or otherwise. What you will have is you better have an excellent APA certified reference. I will be going through and I'm going to check each of these citations to make sure it matches a reference. And I've done this a long time. I'm not going to check every reference because I have a life. You'll notice that the due date is actually before the last week. The reason for that is I need to get these things graded, and it will be tedious and cumbersome for me to do so. I have eliminated assignments. It shouldn't be a huge hassle for you to do this, but I'll be reading it all, grading it all, just like I always did. What I don't have is a nice, neat stack of sources I can easily pull out and check. What I do have is like 30-odd years of experience looking at research papers, and I've gotten pretty good at going, that seems it's wrong, it's misinterpreted, let me check it. Seems like it's overstated, let me check it. It seems like, oh my goodness, this person suddenly is writing quite eloquently, maybe I better check it. So I have a number, it's between me and Jesus, okay? I have a number where I will check your paper on a certain number of sources. And if those are okay, they're not plagiarized, echoey, lifty, they're not misinterpreting, I'm just going to say, okay, great. I assume everything else is the same level of okayness. Now, if I find some fishy stuff, you're going to make a lot of work for me, where I'm going to have to go through and check a whole bunch of sources to make a case for a failing grade and or a referral to our dean. I hope that's not you. Please don't do that. None of us need this hassle. We have enough going on with COVID-19 and the stresses, strains, and perhaps sickness. So make sure you do it right and do it up front. I will be checking the ones you might wish I hadn't checked. So you check them all and make sure they're good. So if Mr. Ray goes on a particular thing, I find what I need, and that's right here. As with all writing, make sure that you read aloud and you edit your text for errors. It works better if you can print a copy. If you can't, if there's a way you can even touch your screen without it getting wonky. My primitive laptop here isn't screen sensitive. I have to use keys. I'm so thankful for that. Those screens, man, I wind up someplace I don't want to be. But if you could print a hard copy, that works better. It really does. And just put your finger under the words to read them out loud. If it sounds funky, fishy, etc., fix it. Of course, grammar, mechanics, spelling, all that needs to be there. Now, the final papers you're going to send me, the front matter, it's a title page, table of contents, a list of figures, and an abstract. That may be a separate file, or if you're pretty good with making page breaks, you can do that because it's paginated differently, etc. And again, in the last video, I mentioned this should just be done last. Get your report all done, then go back and do this stuff. Table of contents, list of figures, you can't even do that until you're finished. You don't know the page numbers yet. The body of the report should be a legit 12 to 15 pages. I went over this in design concerns. That's the next to last video about having appropriate headings and subheadings. And the relevant graphics, look at the putting graphics in your research report video. If you haven't done that for some mysterious reason, that gives you complete instructions on that. Your reference list is the very last separate page. You make it a separate page, and make sure this is not like the proposal where you give me 10 sources and you may have cited 6. This list should have at least 10 sources you actually have cited. I will be checking. If you cite it, a parenthesis, it should have a reference. If there's a reference, it should refer to a cited item. By the way, your graphics, there's a potential you may have a source you only used for a graphic, and that's fine. You don't have to put that source on the reference list because if you follow directions, under the graphic, you have a complete reference, not a citation. I'm pretty sure most of you will have used a graphic that you also use some text from. So that's already on your reference list. But that document you need to edit, fix, make sure it's APA correct, and make sure it matches. Finally, this research paper, you're going to send it to me, and this also needs to be fixed, I can tell. It's not April 1st because things are just messed up. I've done so much cutting and pasting, I don't know which way to go, but I'm not going to back up. I'm showing you my mistake. I'm looking at it out loud. I'll go fix it. So that's another thing to fix. Change criteria, especially with the date. You'll be getting an email from me just to remind you when the paper's due. You want to send it to me no later than 3 o'clock on the due date, which is on the schedule already, and that's correct, and in the email which I'll be sending you. You only send me the final draft electronically. You can send me the front matter and main paper as 2 separate files, because I recommended actually keeping 2 files, because you do the front matter really last, even though it appears chronologically first. So you can do that. But if you can put it all in one file, that certainly makes it simpler for me. But you don't get extra credit for that. You can send it as 2 files, 1 file. I don't care. Just make sure it's all complete. But save your documents with your name in the file so I can easily keep it organized. You can put it report Smith, report your last name. Or if it's 2 files, call it front matter Smith and report Smith. And that way I can keep it straight. I'm going to open your email. I'm going to pull up it on the screen, make sure I have it. I'm going to save it. I'm going to send you an email saying, yeah, I got it. Look for your grade later on. So that hopefully will help you get through. I realize that what you're doing is stressful, complex, and you might have questions. As always, make sure that you are going to, if you have a question, send me an email. Tell me what you need. I might be able to type it back to you. That tends to work better for both of us if we can get away with that. That way we're not playing phone tag or something. But also put your phone number. And even better if you give me times when it's best to reach you. I might wind up just calling you and talking to you, so it's back and forth and more synchronous instruction than asynchronous, as they say in the jargon. So let me know how I can serve you. Do as well as you can. These are hard times. Let me know of any extenuating circumstances. Otherwise, if you don't need me, just send me the stuff. It'll be good. But if you need me, shoot me some emails. In the meantime, you're trying to make the most of the situation. Use this time maybe to do more reading than you usually do. Thinking being alone can be a good thing. Hopefully you're not totally alone. You have at least a person or two in your domicile that you love. Nonetheless, make the most of the time. Continue that social distancing business. Take care of yourself. And know that we'll get through this. So anyway, I'll catch you later on down the line. God bless you. Catch you later.